One.
Hi there. Thank you for tuning in, guys. You're listening to Mama's Just Sayin on 97.3 FM, KEPW, homegrown independent community radio. I am super excited doing a super different show today. I was going to try to get some advertising and do a ad for it last week and totally dropped the ball on that. But I'm super excited to share some time and learn some stuff with my new friend, Joey Helpish. So everybody say hi to Joey.
Hello. What's the name of the show again?
Mama's Just Sayin'.
Mama's just saying. Mama's just saying. Mama's just saying. There you go.
It's a lot of fun. And we're going to do, he's going to show me how he works through this music therapy thing. And I'm going to spend this, second 2/3 of the show asking him questions and getting to know more about the Joey man, the Uncle Nance man.
Yeah.
And it that tickled me when I first realized that you, Mr. Joey Helpish, was also Uncle Nancy, because
Yeah.
that took me, I mean, it takes me back, right?
Yeah. I kind of kept it hidden until oh boy, I guess it's about a year, like a little over a year ago. I kind
Sure.
of was like, hey, people who like Uncle Nancy, this is me, and I do this thing.
Yeah.
Um,
It's fun too, because you make a name for yourself separate, and you show everybody what your skills and talents are, and then you're like, by the way, I'm also this guy.
yeah,
So that's super cool. That's awesome.
yeah. I'm so to do this. So do you want me to start off by kind of explaining song therapy a little bit and getting you
Please,
going?
please.
I consider myself to speak fluent song. So
Mhm.
basically, my job with song therapy, and it's important, I always like to correct people, I am not a music therapist. That's a whole other thing. I'm a
Right.
song therapist. So what I do is I listen to people's thoughts and feelings and try to translate them into a song. Using this thing we call root motives or emotional music theory that Lady Helpish and I invented and came up with about almost 4 years ago. You've already kind of decided on a topic, and I'm going to, if you get stuck at all, just tell me that you're drawing a blank and I'll try to pull more out of you. But what I'm going to try to do is get you to rant on a topic. So, what are we talking about today?
Okay, well, when you told me that we were going to do this for the show, I got super excited. And, as many humans, I have a lot of flavors of broken that I want to heal and work on. But one of the things that's the most confusing and frustrating, being in this meat suit of mine, is chronic pain and invisible, acute, intense, like writhing on the floor kind of chronic pain. Been dealing with it for 20 years and from a lot of different directions. And when I got cancer, it exasperated all the things I was already dealing with. And I started suffering through some PTSD, social PTSD, because of the cancer, and really started pulling back everything. I've always kind of hid my pain because I don't want anyone around me to suffer just because I'm suffering. So I kind of grunt through it and hide and crawl under something heavy while I'm going through it, in order to not let it be something that burdens my loved ones. So learning how to navigate this life with so much pain. That one of the diseases I have is actually, the nickname is called the suicide disease, because so many people that get it just are just done and fed up with hurting, and they just take their own lives. It's a toothache like pain that shoots through the bones of your facial structure all day, every day, kind of. So it's a pretty intense kind of pain. So just sort of trying to figure out how to stay strong and move forward and not let it burden the people in my life, and forgive myself for existing is another thing that I add to that pain thing. So that's kind of, the basics. I feel like there's a lot of levels and a lot of things that it affects in my attitude and my energy, and my loved ones and people that care about me, that know me really well, see me pretending when I'm really just wanting to lay down and cry. And I try not to do that too much. I don't have a whole lot of time for laying down and crying. We do it once in a while because you need to release.
Mm.
But yeah, trying to make sure that I don't make anyone else suffer just because I'm suffering is one of my main goals as a human in this life. So that's kind of my spiel on that. Kind of stuck. Let me think. What else? I started seeing a therapist that specializes in chronic pain, and she's phenomenal. She reminds me all the time not to take on too much, and keeps me keeps my head in the game so that I'm not being so critical of myself, because we expect way too much out of ourselves, each and every one of us in this life on so many levels. So, yeah, that's about all I got on that topic. Unless you have questions, because
Oh, I do.
yeah,
Um, Talk more, unpack a little bit more about keeping your head in the game and how, kind of like maybe how long it's been since you've been doing therapy and been kind of on more on top of this thing
mm,
and kind of meeting it head on.
okay. So prior to getting sick with cancer, I had a couple different, diseases that made things hard, the trigeminal and fibromyalgias and all that. But I was able to handle it and juggle it pretty well. And then when the cancer hit and the chemo exacerbated all that stuff a lot, it made it all 10 times worse than it was before. And after getting done with chemo, I spent 2 or 3 years in some incredibly bad depression and pain that had me just kind of like quicksand. I was just sinking and sinking, and I wasn't able to, move forward in any way. And it was getting worse because, as anyone knows, depression and anxiety make pain worse. So if you already have chronic pain, then those two things will become like a perfect storm. With fibromyalgia, you need sleep in order to get through the pain. If you're in a lot of pain, you can't sleep through it. So it ends up becoming this combination situation of you're not getting enough sleep because you're in too much pain, so on and so forth. So I hit sort of a wall with all of my life at that point, and I reached out and asked for help and found a therapist who specializes in chronic pain. And it took a couple years of working with her before I really felt like I was being the boss of my own self again. I was, making it my, not gonna say bad words because radio, stuff and such, but I was making it my B word instead of me being its B word. So once I started to take accountability for my own energy and attitude, I was able to, find a way to move forward in my life without burdening anyone else in my pain, but letting my pain be okay at the same time. So it's kind of a perfect balance of letting myself fall apart once in a while when I need to, because that needs to happen with all of us, and being brave and crazy and doing the things that I know that I need to do just by getting up every day and being proud of myself that, hey, I got a shower. I did a little laundry. I made a scrambled egg sandwich. Like, I did those things today and I feel pretty accomplished. Some days I make shows. Some days I make other things. Some days I just make grilled cheese. Some days I just make a cup of coffee, And so being proud of myself when I'm able to just make a cup of coffee, and that's enough for me. And I think that's self-forgiveness, forgiving my body. I was very angry at my body for a long time. I was very angry at my body. I'm not a very angry person. I don't really relate to anger very well, but I learned I needed to find a place where I was releasing. So I found anger as a tool that I needed to translate from what I suffered to what I exist in, what I shine on, what makes me glow, what brings me forward. That's just a lot of rambling.
It's great. Okay. And okay. Let's see which one we're gonna do. Oh, I know. Let's do Dementia Wand. Okay, so I have all these different ways of coming up with choruses. One of them is the Dementia Wand. Side note, I worked in dementia for over 10 years. I know a thing or two. We'll talk about this later about how it leads to song therapy with this thing I learned called validation therapy. But let's say I am going to give you I'm going to hit you with my dementia wand. Okay. And you are going to have a certain kind of dementia that means every time you see yourself in the mirror, you can only say one thing. And every time someone says something to you, all you hear is this one thing. It can be one sentence and it can be two sentences. Take your time-ish, but also don't filter yourself. Just say whatever, because I'm going to make it cool. Whatever you say.
So I'm picking a phrase that is the only thing that is my reality.
Yeah. It's what you hear everyone say. You know how, like in Charlie Brown, want, 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 the parents say?
Yeah.
This is like that, except it's just one sentence over and over. In particular, hopefully in a helpish way, that will help you get through this kind of, through chronic pain. And
so encouraging words, not talking down words.
Right. It's not that song today.
Okay. That may be another time, but not today. Okay.
And I definitely do those kinds of songs. And everybody always asks me if I'm doing okay.
That's awesome.
When I do.
Right. Because I've seen some of your videos and listened to some of your songs, so I can get where your friends would worry. I want to do a quick update for my listeners who may just be tuning in to the show, but we have Joey Helpish here, and he is doing a session of music therapy with me.
Song therapy.
It's song therapy, guys. So we were just talking about chronic pain, and I'm looking for a phrase or a sentence that is the only thing I will hear or say to anyone for the rest of my days.
No, say to yourself.
Say to myself.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to be broken, or
I love that.
You know, that's something that really took a long time for me to recognize as real, let alone, can say it a lot, but I feel like that one works for me. Again, listeners, we are building a song together while I work on healing. And I'm super excited to be sharing this time with Joey Helpish and working on this song. I'm doing a pre-recording. This will air tomorrow at 3:00 on KEPW 97.3 FM.
Okay, so we are going to, in fact, if you're watching on video, let's just do the magical thing and go shabam. You can see my screen now. So hey, look, some lyrics. So we're going to focus on this first, on this chorus. Easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken.
Ooh,
yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. As soon as you said it's okay to be broken, I was like, Okay, so I kind of cheated today because we knew what we were going to do, what we were going to be talking about. And like right before we started, I was just kind of thinking about things and I came up with a chord progression. But let me walk you through how I do this. Okay. So Kirsten and I created this thing. We'll talk a little bit about it more afterwards. But we created this thing called root motives. Basically, it's just an emotional woo-woo way of understanding music theory. The way music theory goes, at least Western modern music theory, based on European ideals, there's this thing called the major scale. It's not the major scale because it's the opposite of minor. It's major as in a big freaking deal. So everything is based off of this scale. Okay. And that's the scale everybody knows. The do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Right.
Now to build chords, to build harmony within that, 'cause that's in every song that you hear that's, again, Western European-based music theory, that you hear is based off of these 7 notes. Even the sad stuff, still based off these 7 notes. Mm-hmm. And within those 7 notes, if each one of these notes, you skip a note and then skip a note again, that makes chords. There's 7 chords in a key.
You just made it so much sense to me, Joey. I was raised by a musician, and so many of my friends are musicians, and
yeah, so that's what it is. Every song you've ever heard is a combination of these 7 notes. Even if whether it's in the key of C, G, G sharp, it's still this distance between notes, which goes a whole step, a whole step, a half step. Right. A whole step, a whole step, a whole step, a half step. I heard that my whole life, and I was like, what does that even mean? Yeah. And I was like, oh, each note is a half step. So that's what the black keys are, by the way. In the key of C on a piano, you can just start on C and hit all the white keys.
And that's a half step.
It's doing the pattern.
Oh, okay.
All those black keys are in between the steps. So I've got those 7 chords, and what we figured out, is one thing that is like known is that C resonates at the frequency of love. But then I'll tell the story a little bit later. Then I was like, wait a minute, music is relative. So that means the first chord in a major scale is love. And then we spent the better part of a year figuring out that it goes love, longing, sorrow, hope, power, despair, transition, and back to love. So,
wow.
What I was coming up with, so what I was coming up with was love and hope, but then longing, and then this was so true, power. That's essentially what I knew you were going to kind of go for, because I know enough that most everything you do is rooted in love.
Awesome.
And that you're hopeful.
I am.
And there's definitely that sense of longing and power. That's the journey of chronic pain.
Yeah.
So I lay down a quick little beat, and here it is. Before we get into the verse, I need to really quickly figure out, what I'm doing for the chorus. And I know the first thing that I'm doing for the chorus. Kirsten got me this thing. If you're on video, you can see I have a cry laughing emoji shaker. So I'm just going to come over here real quick, and I'm going to hit record. I can loop it.
Nice.
So then I'll just loop that guy. And then I'm going to keep the drums and bass pretty much the same, but I'm going to take that Wurlitzer and make it a little happier sounding. So nice.
Wow.
Okay, so now I need to figure out, what was that? Okay, now I need to figure out how I'm going to sing this chorus. So easy to say, hard to be spoken, it's okay to be broken. So I'm just going to mumble my way into it for a second.
Okay.
Easy to say, hard to be spoken, well, it's okay to be broken. Easy to say, hard to be spoken, well, it's okay to be broken. All right, now I'm going to record that. And actually, let me do this and make a bunch of copies of some vocally things. We'll start here and easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. Easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. And I'm going to layer that up like a cake. Can you turn your... actually, for right now, for the rest, go ahead and just hit mute. So that way I won't, because I'm hearing myself back in myself. And I will just finish this up real quick. Easy to say, hard to be spoken.
I got it.
Did you figure out the mute? Okay, cool. Easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. Uh-oh. Easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. And because I encourage this a lot, I'm going to cheat and make that loop shorter. I'm going to come down here and go low. Easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. Oh, missed it a little bit. One more time. Easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. Then we pan to the left, pan to the right. Keep that low one in the middle. And then where I'm almost ready to perform while recording this thing. But let's check the easy to say, hard to be spoken. Okay, so now I need to remind myself of the melody that I wrote to, because I completely forgot about it. This is why I do this. Okay. Da, 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 da. Now I'm going to take this whole thing. And boom. Okay. So now I have the whole thing kind of ready to go, and I'm going to record this. I'm probably going to warm up a little bit and mumble for a second, and then I will record this while performing it. Then it'll be done. Then it'll be on YouTube, and as soon as we're done here, I'll have this song out on YouTube. So I'm just gonna. Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of do it almost close to a whisper. Okay. It's hard to know what to do with the pain. To be honest, sometimes it drives me insane. Always hiding the broken in me. Swimming in this invisibility. Yeah. Learning hard to navigate. Trying not to give in to the ache. I messed it all up. Okay, good. Because my music wasn't loud enough for me. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. This is the beauty of live recording. Okay, maxing it out. Okay, I'm gonna do this again. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay. It's hard to know what to do with the pain. To be honest, sometimes it drives me insane. Always hiding the broken in me. Swimming in this invisibility. Okay, third time's the charm. All right. It's hard to know what to do with the pain. To Is it the pain or anxiety? Always both is my reality. Learning to take back the power, but taking it in hour by hour. Some days I am the one at the top. Some days I just need to translate and stop. But easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. Easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. Easy to say, hard to be spoken. It's okay to be broken. There you go. You can unmute now.
Okay. Wow. That was so fun and so powerful and so much like, I mean, wow.
Thank
Yeah.
you. There's more mess ups than I wanted, but whatever.
Hey, live radio, you know,
Yeah.
or recording live. I think it's important for people to know the work that you put into these kind of things, though.
Yeah,
So,
I'm also I just redid my studio completely, and everything is different. But
Sure.
I'm happy to be doing it. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank
you
you
for sharing.
so much. That was so much fun. I can't even like, I don't know, man. Like it's so helpful. Like, you know, I now have a song that I can just jam to when I'm struggling.
Yeah.
It feels, it's all of those things that I feel.
Yeah, the ways in which it's been used has been pretty incredible. It was pretty humbling, like right away.
So
Right away, within our first few things that we tried.
Yeah.
And now we've done almost 300 of them with almost 300 different people I've done this for.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a blessing. So can you tell me how long we've been recording? Because I want to keep an eye on our timeline.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. It doesn't say right there how long.
No.
That's okay. No worries. I think I had an idea, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this live. Sorry, everybody on Facebook, but phone's dying. I love you all. You can tune into the live show when tomorrow at 3. Okay. Out. Okay, everybody, this is KEPW 97.3 FM. I am your host, Elana. This is Mama's Just Sayin', and we are here with Joey Helpish, who is just helping me. He just literally helped me a lot more than Ish with this. So tell me, how did you find yourself in music therapy? What brought you guys to this place where this is what you were able to offer people? Because that's phenomenal.
First of all, I love correcting people. So first of all, again, to correct, song therapy, not music therapy.
Song therapy, dude. Correct as many times as you need to.
But my last name is not Helpish, as in kind of sort of helps. It's a thing my grandma told me when I was a kid, which is don't be selfish, be helpish.
No way.
Yeah, so it's the whole concept is not being selfless, because if you don't have anything, you don't have anything to give. It's being, instead of being selfish, being centered around the self, be centered around helping. And so that's really what it is. And then literally on her deathbed, she told me to change my stupid name because she hated my biological father. And I said, I've been thinking about changing it to Helpish. And she said, do that. And so I did that. And,
what a
and
blessing.
so now I have
It's a great story. Oh, that's amazing.
Okay. So, so Dandelion Studios started, that's the business that I run. That's the school/clinic/studio that Kirsten and I run. It started with me kind of losing my whole life again and moving to Portland after being on the coast, Newport, where I'm from, for a few years. And I primarily taught, and I homeschooled a few kids. Had custody of my nephew for a little bit, and like was just doing that and learning how to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher, but going to school to be a teacher is not an option for me. I'm autistic, and it just there's never really enough resources, and it's just not my kind of way. It's not my flavor, and so I prefer to do things and learn that way, and learn through failure. And so we were talking about Keegan earlier, and I actually moved to Portland. And immediately started. I reconnected with Keegan. Keegan and I used to play a lot of music together back in the day, and I was about to get him to start a school with me. And then he came to me at a show that we were doing together, and he said, hey, look, man, I just can't do it. It's just not in the cards for me right now, but I want to introduce you to somebody who I think you should do this with. And her name was Kirsten.
No way.
Yeah. And so we immediately put together an event where she did the art and I did the music, and we immediately started talking about different things. I had just put out an album called Dandelion Eyes that really, I mean, Dandyland is named after that album. And it's an album of me translating, basically doing song therapy for my grandma, but it's me translating these like concepts and these teachings that she taught me throughout my life into songs. And we kind of based everything in Dandyland around those concepts, which is like she used to always say, don't you ever waste your time growing old. And so people always think that we teach kids. We mostly teach adults over 30. And we do teach kids too, but but 2/3 of our students are people over 30.
That made a lot of sense to me when you told me about that at first. You hear the word school and you assume kids, but the things that you guys teach and the art that you use in the process, I can imagine that the majority of your people are grown adults.
Yeah. And so I started teaching, and I started kind of coming up with my own ways of explaining music theory based around numbers, because in jams and like being an improv guy, like numbers, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's the way that you communicate what chords you're playing, what notes you're playing. And then a few things happened like all at once. I went to a show with Complementary Colors, who both of the people in that band, they're a married couple. They're awesome and beautiful, and they were students. And I went to their show, and they played one of my songs. And obviously, it's cool to hear someone sing your songs, but they sang my emotions back to me, and I'd never experienced anything like it, and it just stuck. But then later, I went to see Ethan, the bass player in the Uncle Nancy and the Family Jewels. He was in a band. It's blank. Sepia Tonic. They played an Uncle Nancy song, and then Worth and Acoustic Minds played an Uncle Nancy song. And so in one night, 3 different times, I got my emotions and my experience sang back to me, and it just like really stuck. And then around that time, Kirsten was watching some woo-woo thing, and that's when they said, a middle C represents love. And I was like, BS, because music is relative. So we ordered in every single meal for the next 3 days, and she has recordings of all this stuff, and we just went through it and we figured it out. And then we spent the next several months throwing things at it. And then about 3 months into that, I taught a class called Root Motives with 12 people. And it was funny because I remember very distinctly the first thing I said to this group of songwriters was, your job as songwriters to manipulate people's emotions. And everyone got uncomfortable.
Right.
I was like, sorry, that's what it is.
It is.
And then a jeweler friend of mine hired us to come use these techniques that we were doing to write songs for clients of his in the jewelry studio. And we did that. And then I think probably the 7th or 8th, we were doing it like every other day. It was really fun. We ended up with all these love songs that are people's stories.
Yeah.
And then this guy was not there. for his. He wasn't getting married. His wife had just passed, and he was getting her ashes, or no, her ring, put into his ring to make the scene of the tree where her ashes were buried. And so we did it, and it literally used all 7 chords, all of the emotions. It's like this traveling thing. And then we were like, oh, this, and like we were all crying, and he kept calling me and just updating me about the experience of what it was like of, feeling validated. Yeah. And so then we started a beta program for song therapy. It wasn't called that yet. We didn't know what it was. And a whole bunch of friends of ours came to our studio in Portland back when you could do that kind of thing. And we had all these beta testers, and we tested it out. And then I started doing it. I opened up a beta test to online people and did 50 people in like a week or something. It was nuts because it's really easy for me.
Yeah,
and
I see
because
that.
it doesn't come naturally. It's just rules. I just follow rules.
Well, yeah. It looks like you hear the song in your head as you're doing. I mean,
yeah, it's the same. It's the same way that a painter can, right. But I will fight anyone who thinks that it's special, because it's not, because I teach it and I see it happen all the time.
I see that. I feel you.
It's not special. It's just a language. And so then all these incredible things happened. I started working with kids doing song therapy. And then, I've always been told that I was a good listener, and I was trying to figure out, like, as I was starting to teach this to other people, I have a lot of students, especially the ones older 30, where I just teach them to do it for themselves. That's, the big piece is that when I was 18, I was in the fishing industry, and the state was paying people $1,000 a month to get retraining. And so I had always, like, I grew up raised by caregivers. And so I thought maybe I'll go get my CNA license and get out of fishing industry and get into doing what I really like to do, which is like make people smile and stuff. And so, so I did that, and I figured out that if I kept taking additional training, I would keep getting that $1,000 a month while I was working as a CNA for several months. And I took this thing called Best Friends approach and validation therapy, both of which are techniques used in dementia. The problem is that they didn't allow men on the dementia ward at the facility that I was working at, until one day I get a call, and they're like, they're short. And you're the most trained person here. And her name, the nurse's name was Glenda. And there was lots of, the good witch, the bad witch jokes.
I bet.
A lot of people didn't like her. She was hard, hard as in hardened. And, we became best friends.
Oh, wow.
Because everything worked, because I had been trained over that 6 months. Then this is very important. This is why song therapy works. To believe everything that demented people say is true. If they tell me this wall behind me is blue, I just agree. And I just believe them. It's more than just agreeing, like, oh, yeah, sure. It's, okay, I'm just going to believe that that's true. I'm just going to believe everything you say. And we live in a world that doesn't happen, ever. And
I have to say that I was a private in-home caregiver for the elderly for a while, and I had a couple clients that have dementia. My ex-partner, her mom is fighting dementia, and it's the most powerful thing for a person to learn that's in somebody's life that has dementia, is you just believe their reality is true for them. And there's no reason to ever argue and talk down to them or change what their reality is, because it is blue, for them. Yeah. So yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I ended up years later when I moved to Eugene teaching validation therapy in a memory care facility. And that's the first thing that I would always say is like, look, if you tell me the wall's not blue, one of two things is going to happen. I either think you're crazy and I don't trust you, or I start to doubt my sanity, neither of which needs to happen. There's need for it.
No.
And so we can just like have fun and just believe people. And so
Yes.
that's really why validation or why song therapy works.
Because it's a validation.
Because it's extreme validation. And that's why I always start that story with hearing my own songs.
Mhm.
Because I had never been so validated in my freaking life. I've had thousands of people sing back to me at shows.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Nothing is like sitting there in silence being completely and fully validated.
Yeah.
In a way that words can't do, because
Mhm.
that's what music does.
I think Jenny and Amanda need a new song for music for song therapy. I think that what's going on right now, they could use a new one. I'm just saying. I'm pretty good friends with them and I miss them to pieces, but I know they're having a really hard time this last couple months. So
Yeah.
with their pages getting hacked and losing all their identity,
Oh, it's a bummer.
They could use some good Joey love.
Yeah, I should probably just send him some
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Tell him
cool. So do you have any other questions? Sorry, that's a bit of a long spiel.
No, don't be sorry. It's amazing. I feel like, so how long have you been doing song therapy now? It's been a few years. It's been
I think it's been 2 years.
Okay.
We are about to end our 4th year as Dandyland and a couple on January 26th.
Oh, wow.
Is we had started a business and she was helping and stuff. And we went on one date a month for 4 months.
Oh my gosh.
And then she showed up late one night and never left.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's a great story. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I know that with COVID changing everything, I know that everybody's had to adjust. So tell me a little bit about when you moved and you got into this house with the idea of classes in this space.
Yeah, I mean, everything's weird. I think that we're very fortunate that we had, so last year about this time, we had started coming down to Eugene and doing shows that worked for me, which means small, pre-ticket only, very private, very contained. I'm just at a point in my life where I just don't waste time trying to pretend like I'm neurotypical.
Yeah.
And so there's just no reason for it.
Right.
And so we created these
good for other people to see you doing.
Yeah. We created these very, autism friendly environments. And it became apparent that we had more support in Eugene than we had in Portland. And so around that time we started talking about looking into moving down here. And then I think what's funny is that right about the time I started going, maybe we should stay in Portland, Kirsten had this moment where like there was a line of people that she had never met waiting to hug her at a show, and so I think that kind of like flipped things for her. Yeah. And I've always, I have this incredible community that I've been involved with for 20 something years now. And so, and the people who kind of came over from Uncle Nancy land to Joey Helpish land are exactly the kind of people I want in my life. People who can see past the middle finger and the gypsy piratey craziness and see that I'm just I'm just a normal dude who loves things and likes kids and old people and which surprises some people.
Yeah, it doesn't. Once I spent time next to you, like and like randomly running into you at the show with Keegan and had so much fun playing with you guys and hopping on stage and percussion with my rings on my glass and but I didn't realize that you were Uncle Nancy at that point. And when I put it all together, I was like, you just felt like a snuggly teddy bear to me, like right there, all lovey and sweet. And you're so welcoming and warm to be next to.
Oh, thank you.
That was what was so prominent in my head and my experience, in that short amount of time. We are down to our last 15 minutes.
Okay, let me finish this story about coming to Eugene. So we're in Portland, and And so we started making moves, and I started moving most of my students over to online.
Right.
And most of them preferred it. And once I like kind of got my mojo in, it actually like it took us a lot less time. It was pretty cool, and I just had so much experience teaching at that point that I really just get in and do my thing. And so we were looking into a house, and then the place where we were doing those shows at the old firehouse.
Mm.
Ethan Rainwater was I like hit him up. I was like, hey, we're looking for a place to start Dandyland. And he's like, I've got a place. And so we start doing that. And the whole, when I walked in this house in the living room, I just had a vision of people crying and smiling. And so I was like, oh, well, this is it. This is where we're going to be. A nice place for the studio and living on top, and then have our business on the bottom, and which still will happen someday.
It will, absolutely.
But that is not. There's just a lot of empty space downstairs right now. Actually, Kirsten started painting down there and stuff, and it's kind of cool. It's got good energy.
Oh, good.
But right when we were set to leave is when COVID happened. And it was in the middle of the spring, and like we just lost a bunch of students, not because of in-person thing, because they couldn't afford it or like uncertainty.
Yeah.
And we'd already committed. It got delayed a little bit, but then we made this crazy move. Filled up a U-Haul full of our whole studio and our whole life that we'd built in Portland, and just moved in the middle. It just felt really weird.
Wow.
But then we were greeted by our best friends when we got here. And like we didn't even know people were going to help us, and there was a bunch of people here to help us that we love, and so it's been weird. There's parts where it's really good, and there's parts where it's just a struggle.
Yeah.
And I think that's we're poised to like hopefully have this be a positive jumping point. Because it made a lot of people consider what I love to do as a thing, which is online lessons and song therapy and things. But it's very uncertain. And when this thing first started, me and Kirsten were good. We're like, we social distance anyway. It's definitely getting to me.
Right.
I definitely miss hugs and kids and rough
elderly.
Housing and that kind of thing. I have this funny thing now with students where I make them pat themselves on the back because I'm a big back patter. Like,
because you're not there to do it, right? Yeah. Oh man. Oh
just letting people know, like, hey, you're awesome.
I know. I hear people say, "Oh, I'm antisocial anyway," and it's like that's for me. I started doing this show specifically because I was raised in teepees and buses and homeschooled until I was 12 with a bunch of women and children and hippies and stone naked hippies 30 miles from the nearest pavement road. And so I understood what it was like for people to connect and raise each other up and support each other and live communally. And moving onto the pavement at 12 years old, and then starting to go to public school, seeing what society does with connection, a human connection, and how broken it is and how far and detrimental it is that we aren't as connected. So when I started doing Mama's Just Sayin, my goal was to teach people how to open their hearts and open their minds and put your hand on someone's shoulder and say hi and just give that love and see that energy that comes from that and let it go out into the universe and do what it does. And when COVID first hit, I was like, I don't know that I can do this. How am I supposed to have a show about the importance of humans connecting, which of course can be tied into any art and any music and anything like that. But like, how am I supposed to talk about humans connecting when I can't even hug my people when I can't?
Right.
And my boss was like, man, you got to do it, Lana. Everybody, this is what people need to be reminded. We're humans still, and we're in these places where we can find ways to connect, and we need that from each other as much as we can. So I just took a couple-week hiatus and then went right back into broadcasting from home. I need to pay attention to the time because I don't, my old lady eyeballs aren't working very well. I do want to ramble one more time. You are tuned into 97.3 FM, KEPW, Homegrown Independent Community Radio. I am your host, Elana, and you're tuned in to Mama's Just Sayin'. We're looking at about 6 minutes left before we have to end this so that we don't mess with the next program coming on or have to edit it all. So really quick, can you just tell my listeners, first of all, where can they enjoy your music and how can they contact you to learn more about having some song therapy happen?
Yeah. So if you want to check out my music, there's two platforms that I have. So Dandyland Studios on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, anywhere you can stream. That's mostly the stuff I do with kids. And then Joey Helpish is still stuff from Dandyland, but it's more adult stuff. But I have a very active YouTube channel for both of those things. I'm constantly, sometimes 4 songs a day I'm releasing.
Yay.
And then as far as getting a hold of me, Instagram and Facebook are the easiest. And it's just
Great.
Joey Helpish. Literally no one in the whole world has my name. So I'm pretty easy to find. Yeah.
And I look forward to looking at the schedule with the station manager and seeing about when we can get you in your own little situation, however you want to do a show. I'm excited to see what you decide to do with that.
Yeah, I would love to, because that's the big goal for 2021 is to get a lot more content happening from us.
Well, we are so excited to work with you and have you be a part of the KEPW family. And there's going to be, there's a lot of exciting things coming with just our 2 shows coming up. So I'm excited to delve into that a little bit more with you. I want to shout out one really quick thing. Anybody who has been seeing my live videos and knows Mama's Just Sayin', and Jeanette Hazard, thank you for my birthday present. This backdrop is so waggy. I put some Christmas lights on it. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Like you washed out. I was sitting in front of my house with that. I had the KEPW thing for a while, but this is way cooler. So thank you for the birthday present, AJ. I love you. Shout out to all my listeners and friends and everybody. Let's, be extra loving and patient with this intense time that's coming. The official end of the Mayan calendar rewritten style is October 21st, which is the same day all those planets are aligning in the sky. So stay sensitive to each other and yourselves over this next couple of weeks, because transition, the veil is thinning. Listen to the heartbeats of your loved ones on the other side, because I do believe they are going to be tapping into us and connecting with us more after this next couple of weeks goes by. So tune in to Mama's Just Sayin' next week for a little bit more of talk about that specific topic. And thank you so much for joining me, Joey. I'm honored and blessed.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for my song.
Yeah, it'll be so you can go Joey Helpish on YouTube. It'll be as soon as when this airs, it'll already be up.
Great.
So just look for the song "It's Okay to Be Broken."
Oh my God, I love you so much, darling. Awesome.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon, honey. Okay, Mama's out.